She stopped waving when she realized no one was waving back. Mia stood in the middle of the crowded elementary school auditorium in Dayton, Ohio, her small fingers fluttering in the air, her eyes bright with fragile hope. Around her, parents clapped loudly, their cheers echoing against the high ceilings, their smiles wide and proud. But Mia heard none of it. She never had. And today she saw what she had always felt but never fully understood. Her father, Thomas, wasn't looking at her. He was looking at his phone. Have you ever stood in a room full of love and still felt completely invisible? Have you ever tried to reach someone who never even realized you were trying? Thomas was a good man. At least that's what everyone said. He worked 2 jobs after his wife, Rebecca, died in a car accident 3 years ago. He woke before sunrise, packed Mia's lunches, paid the bills on time, and never missed a parent-teacher meeting. He was dependable, responsible, strong, but he didn't see her, not really. When Mia was diagnosed as profoundly deaf at birth, Rebecca had embraced it immediately. She learned sign language with fierce determination, her hands moving like poetry, her face alive with expression. She laughed with Mia in silence, spoke to her with her eyes, and filled their home with a language deeper than sound. Thomas had watched from the sidelines. He had told himself he was too busy, too tired, too overwhelmed. After Rebecca died, he told himself something else, that love was enough, even without words. But love without understanding can feel like absence. Mia grew quiet in ways that went beyond silence. She stopped tugging at his sleeve. She stopped trying to show him her drawings, her thoughts, her little victories. She learned early that his world was fast, loud, and unreachable. She learned that her hands spoke a language no one answered. At night, Thomas would sit beside her bed, brushing her blonde hair gently, whispering words she couldn't hear. He believed presence was enough. He believed she felt his love. But Mia stared at the ceiling, her small heart learning to exist alone. One evening, her teacher, Mrs. Grant, asked Thomas to stay after school. She showed him Mia's latest drawing. It was simple. A stick figure of a man stood on one side of the page. A smaller stick figure stood on the other. Between them was a thick black line. Above the smaller figure, Mia had drawn hands reaching across, but they never touched the man. Mrs. Grant explained quietly that Mia rarely engaged anymore. She stayed in corners. She avoided eye contact. She lived inside herself. Thomas nodded politely, but inside something twisted painfully. That night he found Mia sitting on the living room floor, her fingers moving gently in front of her face. She was signing to herself, her expression soft and alive in a way he hadn't seen in months. He realized with a crushing weight that she was having conversations with no one, and he wasn't part of them. What would you do if you suddenly realized your child had stopped trying to reach you, not because they didn't love you, but because they believed you'd never understand? Thomas didn't sleep that night. He sat in the dark, staring at the photos Rebecca had left behind. In every single one, her hands were moving. Her face was expressive. She was speaking in Mia's world. He wasn't. The next morning, Thomas searched for local American Sign Language classes. He found one at a small community center just 15 minutes away. He signed up before he could talk himself out of it. The first class was humiliating. His fingers felt stiff and clumsy. His mind struggled to remember even the simplest gestures. He mixed up letters. He forgot signs seconds after learning them. Everyone else seemed faster, more natural. He almost quit. But then he remembered Mia's drawing, the black line. He kept going. Every night after Mia fell asleep, Thomas practiced in front of the mirror. His hands trembled with exhaustion, but he forced them to move. He watched videos. He repeated signs until his muscles ached. He carried flashcards to work, studying during lunch breaks, ignoring curious stares from coworkers. Weeks passed. He didn't tell Mia. He wanted the moment to mean something. One Saturday afternoon, Mia sat at the kitchen table, coloring quietly. The sunlight fell across her yellow dress, illuminating her soft hair. She didn't notice Thomas standing in the doorway, his heart pounding like it was about to break through his chest. He stepped forward slowly, afraid. He lifted his hands. His fingers hesitated. Then gently, carefully, he signed, "I love you." The room froze. Mia's crayon slipped from her hand. Her eyes widened, her small body going perfectly still, as if even breathing might shatter the moment. She stared at his hands. Then his face, her lips trembled. Thomas signed again, slower this time, tears already spilling down his cheeks. "I love you." Mia's hands rose shakily. She signed back, her movements uncertain, fragile. "You see me?" Thomas nodded, his vision blurred by grief, regret, and hope all tangled together. "Yes," he signed. "I see you." Mia collapsed into his arms, her tiny body shaking with silent sobs that broke him more completely than any sound ever could. She clung to him like she was afraid he might disappear again. He held her tighter than he ever had, his hands no longer useless, no longer empty. From that day on, everything changed. It wasn't instant. Thomas still made mistakes. He forgot signs, he stumbled, but he never stopped trying. Every night they sat together, their hands moving, their faces alive with expression. They laughed in silence. They argued in silence. They loved in silence. But it wasn't silent anymore, because now Mia wasn't invisible. Years later, at Mia's high school graduation, she stood on stage as valedictorian. Her hands moved confidently as she gave her speech in sign language, her eyes scanning the crowd. And there in the front row sat Thomas. His hands moved with her perfectly, not a second behind. He wasn't lost anymore. He was home. Before this story ends, take a moment and tell me in the comments. Have you ever felt invisible to someone you loved, or have you ever realized too late that someone needed you to truly see them? And if this story touched something deep inside your heart, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Because sometimes the smallest effort to understand someone can save a world they thought was already lost.